Hello everyone, welcome to the Mercury Virtual. Hope you are doing good. Today I am going to continue with your same module, that is the object oriented programming, and the same chapter, that is the chapter number 8, that is the inheritance. In the last class we have discussed about the another type of inheritance and the abstract classes, that is the hybrid inheritance, and the abstract classes, that is the what is the abstract class. And we have taken this chapter, or we have studied this chapter from the last few days or from the last 1 week. Well, this is a lengthy chapter. This is a new chapter, important chapter, and more concepts are there. So this is a hybrid inheritance that makes the inheritance possible. That is a combination of various inheritance, or inheritance means reusability of the code. So let's continue with the previous class session, what we have covered in the last class. So in the last class we have started with we have studied about the hybrid inheritance, that is how to use the hybrid inheritance and how to use or how to access them or how to well maintain them, that is the hybrid inheritance. So there could be a situations when we want to use the more than one inheritance, that is more than one inheritance means there are more than one inheritance. For example, there is a multi-level inheritance. For example, there is a multiple inheritance. That means that is a combination of more than one inheritance, that is known as the hybrid inheritance. So if a question arises, what is hybrid inheritance? That means a combination of two inheritance, that is a multi-level inheritance and the multiple inheritance. This is the multi-level and the multiple inheritance, that is a combination of hybrid inheritance. We have studied about this the same example, that is there are three classes. First of all, one is student, one is test, one is result, and at last there is a class, that is a result. Student contains the information about the student. Test contains the information about the marks in various subjects. Sports contain the information about the various scorecards, various sports score that is available in the, or that is occupied or that is captured by the student. Then there is a result class, that is a compiled result or of each and every student, that is what is the mark score, what is the score in the sports, and then what is the result, that is a combination of the roll number, combination of the various marks in various subjects, as well as a combination of the score, that is or that the user occupied or that the user uses or that the user gets the score in the sports. Then the compiled result is, or the compiled output is stored in the class result. So the student roll number, it depends upon the result or it depends upon the test. So test is a class that is derived from the class student, and there is a sports class that is also used as a base class, that is used for the class result. So class results inherit each and every properties of the student class, test class, and the sports class. So this is known as the hybrid inheritance, that is combination. So this is the example, this is the definition of the class sports, that is how the class sports is used. Simply it is used to get the score, it is used to take the score. Then there are two member functions are also used, that is a get score and the put score. And there are argument used, one is a void type, one is a both are a void return type, but there are argument used, one is a void, one is a float. So the result will have both the multi-level and the multiple inheritances, and its declaration would be as follows. So there is a class result, then there is a public class or the public test and the public sports. So there are two classes that is derived from one another, that is a test and the sports. So this says where test itself is a derived class from the student. So the result is derived from the test, but test itself is a derived class from the student class. So there is a overlapping, that is known as the hybrid inheritance, right? So this is the class test that is also derived from the class student. So there is a class test, that there is a public student. So this is a program that shows how the hybrid inheritance will be public applicable or used, that is a hybrid inheritance. So first of all, there is a data member, that is a roll number. There is a member function, that is a get number, that becomes an inline function, that is a get number, that stores the value or that stores the output of the, or that stores the roll number of the student, that is given by the user. That is a is given by the user and that is stored in the roll number. Then there is a put number that is used to display on the screen. Then there is a class test, public student, Then there are two parts. One is the data member, one is the member functions, and there are two member function. One is the get marks, one is the put marks. And again, there is a sports, that is the next class, that is used to get the score, and that is used to put the score, that is used to declare the data member as a score. Then result, that is a compiled of the test and the sports class. Then there is a, this is the definition of the display function, that is the display function, how display function is used, or what is the use of the display function. Then int main, then there is a result, then student1, that is student1 is the object that is used. So the class name is result and the name of the object is student1, and then student1 will be used as an object, or that is used with the dot operator to use the various member functions like get number, get marks, get score, and display function. This is the output that is shown. Next is we have discussed is the virtual base class, that is the virtual base class that is used. Then we have discussed about the virtual base classes, that is what is a virtual base class, or what is the main advantage of virtual base class. So it is nothing but it is saying that when there is a hybrid inheritance, that then the last derived class, that is a basic derived class, that is the last one derived class, take the or inherit the properties from more than one base classes. So there is a duplicacy of the member functions. So to avoid the duplicacy, we use the keyword virtual that makes the class as a virtual base class. So at the time of compile time, it is necessary to use, or it is necessary to recognize which member function will be occupied or will be used by another member function. That is a virtual base class. The duplication of the inherited members due to this multiple path can be avoided by making the common base class, that is the ancestor class, as a virtual base class. So what is the name of the base class, or what is the name of the class that is taken? That is a virtual base class that is used to modify or to make the class while declaring the intermediate class or the derived class. So this is the grandparent, this is the parent 1, parent 2, then this is the child. The keywords virtual and the public can be made in either order. So we can use the public virtual result, for example, or we can make the virtual public result as anything. Both are the keywords, so anything can become afterwards or beforewards. This is the example that is used, that we have discussed, that is how to use the virtual base classes. Then we have discussed in the we have discussed the abstract class. That is a, what is the abstract class? That is the one that is not used to create the object. So it is the class that is not used to create the objects, that is designed only to act as a base class, right? So to be inherited by the other classes. It is a design concept in a program development and provides a base upon which other classes may be built. So it is nothing but a class that is not used to make any objects, because every class has some objects, but it is not used to create the objects. It is a design only to act as a base class. It is a design concept in a program development and provides a base, and that means it provides a base how to use the classes. Then we have then we have started with the constructors in the derived class. Now I'm going to continue. Now what is a constructor? So first of all, constructor means construct the program. That means automatically initializing or making the object that is used, that is simplicity, that is used for the simplicity, that is the constructors in the derived class. So constructors are also used for making the class, that it is mandatory for the derived class to have a constructor and pass the arguments to the base class constructor. In case of multiple inheritance, the base classes are constructed in the order in which they appear in the declaration of the derived class. So in case of multiple inheritance, that is when more than one inheritance or one derived class becomes the base class. So in case of multiple inheritance, the base classes are conducted in the order in which they appear in the declaration of the derived class. Similarly, in a multi-level inheritance, the constructors will be executed in the order of the inheritance. That is, whenever we use the multiple inheritance, the base classes are constructed, or base class have different objects in the order in which they appear in the declaration of the derived class. Similarly, in a multi-level inheritance, the constructors will be executed in the order of the inheritance. That is how they are constructed, or how they are used, or how they are making the construction, or how they are making the objects that is used in the order of the inheritance. So this says the constructor of the derived class receives the entire list of values as its argument. So whenever we use a constructor, we have to pass or we have to give the argument. So it receives the entire list of values as its argument and passes them on to the base constructors in the order in which they are declared and derived. The base constructors are also known as execute and executed before executing the statements of the in the body of the derived constructors. So this is used or constructors are called and executed before executing the statements in the body of the derived constructor. So this is the general form for defining the constructor. That is how the constructors are used. That is a general form. So first of all, there is a derived constructor. This is the name of the constructor. There are different argument. That is argument list 1, argument list 2, and so on, argument list n. So there are multiple argument lists that is available. So one is the base 1 argument list, then base 2 argument list, then argument for the base n. That is the base n argument list. Then the header line of the derived constructor function contains two parts that is separated by the colon. So there are two parts that is separated by the colons. The first part provides the declaration of the arguments that are passed to the derived constructor. So first is the declaration of the argument, that is how to declare the argument, that is a base one, and how to declare the or how to pass the derived class, and the second part lists the function calls to the base constructor, that is how to pass the function or how to call the function that is used as a base constructor. Then base 1 argument list 1, base 2 argument list 2 are the function that is calls to the base constructors. Then base 1, base 2, and therefore argument list 1, argument list 2, etc represents the actual parameter. So these are the various parameter that is used, that is argument list 1, argument list 2, until argument list n. So these are represented or they represent the actual parameter that are passed to the base constructors. Argument list 1 through argument list n. This is the argument list. This is from 1 to the n are the argument declaration for the base constructor base 1 through base n. Argument list D, that is the last one, argument list D, that provides the parameter that are necessary to initialize the members of the derived class. So that is used to initialize a member, how to initialize the various members. This is one of the example. There is a constructor that is a D, there is a int a1, int a2, float b1, float b2, int d1. So these are the various argument that is passed in the class. Then capital A, then a1 comma a2, then capital B, b1 comma b2. That is calling to the constructor A and call to the constructor B. There are two parts. One is calling to the constructor A, one is calling to the constructor B, as the name advice or as the name defines A and the B. Then there is a semicolon, there is a curly braces that is used. Then D1 is assigned or executes the body, that is D1 is assigned to the D. So whenever first constructor, that is the a1 comma a2 invokes the base constructor A, and the b1 b2 invokes another base constructor, that is a B. The constructor D also supplies the value of these four arguments. So constructor D is also used for supplying the values of these four arguments, that is a a1 a2 b1 b2. In addition, it has one argument of its own, that is in addition to this they have a, or it has a one argument of its own. Then the constructor D, that is a last constructor, that is the constructor D, have a total or has a total of 5 arguments. So D may be invoked as follows. So how the D will be invoked? This is the D, then object D, that is the object D, then 5, 12, 2.5, 7.54, 30. So these are the various objects that contains 5 arguments that is used to invoke the object that is used to make the object. That is D object D, then 5, 12, 2.5, 7.54 and 30. These values are assigned to the various parameter by the constructor D as follows. So these are the various parameter, these are the various values that is passed to make the or passed to the constructor, that is the D constructor. Then what are the values that is passed? In A1 the value is 5, in A2 the value is 12, In B1 the value is 2.5, in B2 the value is 7.54, in D1 the value is 30. So these are the various values that is defined or that is assigned to the various parameters. So A1 is assigned a 5, A2 is assigned a 12, and so on, because we are passing the 5 parameters or 5 values will be passed to the 5 different objects or 5 different constructors argument, that is A1, A2, B1, B2 and the D1. These are the 5 different constructors. Next point says the constructor for the virtual base class are invoked before any non-virtual base classes. If there are multiple virtual base classes, they are invoked in the order in which they are derived or declared. Any non-virtual bases are then constructed before the derived class constructor is executed. So these are this is the execution of the base class constructor. That is how to execute the base class constructor or how to use the base class constructors. So first is method of inheritance, that is how or what is the method of inheritance. Then order of execution, that is in which order it will be executed. So method of inheritance means class B, public A, then there is a curly braces, and then there is a curly braces close, there is a semicolon, then class A, public B, public C. So there are two classes that is used, that is derived, or class A is derived from the two classes, that is B and the C. And the order of execution is in first one, that is the class B, public A is the base constructor and B is the derived constructor. Then class A, public B, public C, B is the base, that is the first class, C is the base, that is the second class, A is the derived class. Then class A, public B, virtual public C, C is the virtual base class, B is the ordinary class or ordinary base class, and A is the derived class. These are the various constructors that is used, that is the constructors in the derived class. So there is a how to use the constructor. First of all, hash include iostream, that is a header file that is used, that is iostream.h. Then there is the class alpha, that is the name of the class is alpha. Then int x, that is a data member that is used. Then there is a public, that is alpha int I. So alpha is used, that is the int I. Then x equals to I, that is the I value will be assigned to the x. Then cout alpha initialize, so this is the initialization of the alpha, that is how to initialize the alpha. Then void show x void, then cout x equals to x, then there is a next line, that is a slash or backslash n. Then there is a curly braces closed, and then there is a semicolon. So this is the class alpha that is used. Then class beta, next class is class beta. Then there are multiple argument, one is a float y, then a public, there is a beta float j, then y equals to j, that is a beta initialize. Then void show y, that is void, then cout y equals to, that is the y will be printed or the y value will be printed on the screen. Then gamma, that is use both the beta and the alpha in a public way, that is m, this is the gamma, that is the name of the function is same, so this is the constructor that is used. Then void show mn, that is the function that is used, that is for showing the values of the m and the n. Then int main, that is the starting of the main, then gamma g. So what's the variable or what's the object that is chosen, that is a g, and there are 5 values that is passed, that is a 5, 10, 75, 20, 30. So these are the 5 values that is passed. Then cout for moving to the next line. Then g dot show x, that is the show x is used for displaying on the screen. Then show y, then show mn. So these are the show mn that is used. Then there is a return 0. So whenever we use the show x, that will directly jump to the showing the function like this one. This is show x for showing the x value, that is x equals to how much, then show y, that is how y value is how much. So beta is initialized first, although it appears second in the derived parameters. Then this is because it is declared first in the derived class header file. Also note that the alpha and the beta are the function calls. These are the functions that is used. Therefore, the parameter should not include the type. So there is no requirement for it to include the parameters. This takes the following form, or this takes the general form. There is the constructor, then there is the argument list, that is the arg list, then there is the initialization section, that is how to initialize the section, how to initialize the value. So first of all, there is a constructor, then there is an argument list, what type of argument, then there is a colon, then there is a initialization, how to initialize the value, then there is a assignment section, that is how to assign the value. The assignment section is nothing but the body of the constructor function and is used to assign the initial value to its data members. The part that is used, or that part that is immediately following the colon, is known as the initialization section. So this is the initialization section. We can use this section to provide the initial values to the base constructors, and also to maintain or initialize its own class member. This means that we can use either of the sections to initialize the data members of the constructors class. This initialization section is basically contains a list of initializations that is separated by the commas. This list is known as the initialization list. That is how to initialize a value, or how to initialize various lists, that is known as the initialization list. Now this is the example, that is a simple example. There is a class that is a xyz. Then there are two data members, that is a and the b. Then there is a constructor that is used, that is xyz, that also contains two variables or two data members, that is I and the j, that is the arguments. And then there is a colon, that is ai, then b 2 into j. Then there is a main function, that is xyz x2 3. Now 2 will be assigned to the I, the j will be assigned to the, or 3 will be assigned to the j. This program will initialize the a to the 2 and the b to the 6. Why 6? Because 2 into j, that is a 6, and ai, that is a 2. So this is 2 and this is 6. Note that the data members are initialized just by using the variable name followed by the initialization value, that is enclosed in the parenthesis like a function. Any of the parameters of the argument are using the same values that may be providing, or that may be used as the initialization value, and the items in the list may be in any order. For example, this is a constructor that is xyz, and these are the various arguments that is used. For addition, this is used. For multiplication, this is also used. This is the how to initialize the values or list in the constructors. This is one of the example that is used. So first of all, let's take a break, then move to this section, that is how to initialize the various list. That is a practical way. So let's take a break right now, first of all. So come back from the break. Now let's start the session again. So this is a program that shows how to initialize a list, or how to initialize the various values in the constructor. So this is the program that shows how to initialize the variables, how to initialize the list items in the constructors. So first of all, there is a header file, that is a hash include iostream. Then there is a class alpha. There is one member, that is data member, that is a int x. So the name of the data member is x. Then there is a public, then alpha int I. So this is the name of the, or this is the member function that is used, or this is, we can say, the constructor, because the name of the function is same as the class name. So this is a constructor. There is one argument that is used, that is a int I, that is assigns the value of I to the x. Then it is displayed that there is a alpha that is constructed. Then there is a void show alpha, that is used to show the alpha value, or what is the constructor value. That is how it will be used to initialize the objects in the program. That is cout x equals to x, that is displaying the value of a x. Then there is a um, curly braces close and there is a semicolon. So this is the class alpha that is used to denote the data member, that is used to denote the member function, that is a constructor. Then there is a class B that is used to denote the data member, that is a P and the Q. So in this there are two data members, that is a P and the Q, and there is a constructor that name is beta, and there are two argument that is used, that is the float A and the float B, then PA Q B plus P. Then it is used to display that there is a beta that is initialized or constructed. Then void show beta, that is used to show the values of the beta, that is P and the Q. And again there is a closing curly braces and there is a semicolon. Then there is a gamma. That next class is gamma, and there are two versions that is used. There is a beta and there is a alpha. That is, gamma is derived from the two classes, that is a beta and the alpha. Then int UV, that is two variables are used, data members are used. Then there is a public, then there is a gamma, that is initialize the value, that is a gamma, that is use the value, that is a gamma. And there are three member argument that is passed, that is int A, int B and the float C. Then there is a alpha, that is A into 2, then beta, CC, then UA. Then V equals to B, C out, gamma constructed, that is it is used to display or initialize the values, and it is also used to display, that is gamma constructed. Then void show gamma, that is used to display the or show the or use the function, that is a show gamma. Then C out, U equals to U, that is used to display the U value, that is used to display the V value, that is a V equals to V. Then there is a int main, that is a main function is used, and then there is a gamma, that is a G is the name of the object that is used, and there are three arguments that is used, that is 2, 4 and 2.5. Then C out display member value, that is used to display the member value, that is how it will be display the member values. Then G dot show alpha, that is the show alpha is the name of the function, then show beta, then show gamma. So there are three functions that is used, that is the gamma, beta and the alpha. Then there is a return 0. So whenever there is a show alpha, that will pass the cursor to the next one, that is a show alpha, like this one, prints the value of x. Then show beta, then prints the value of beta. Then this is a beta, then gamma, then gamma, that is used to show the values of the gamma, that is a U and the V. Then there is a return 0. So what is the output? First of all, it will display beta constructed, then alpha constructed, then gamma constructed. Then what is the display member value that is used? What are the values that is used? That is 4, 2.5, then 5, 2, 4. So these are the 5 values that is used to display, or that is used to display the various values in the member function, in the data members. There is a note that says the argument list of the derived constructor gamma contains only 3 parameters a, b and c. So there are 3 parameters of the gamma, that is a, b and c, which are used to initialize the 5 data member that is contained in all the 3 classes, that is contained in the 3 classes. So there are 5 data members, 5 variable that is used to initialize, that is xp, qu, v. So these are the 5 data member that is contained in these classes. Now next is member classes, or how to use the member classes, that is the nesting of the classes, that is one class will be used within another class, that is a nesting of classes. This says inheritance is a mechanism of deriving certain properties of one class into another, that is it is a mechanism of derive one class into the another class. We have seen in detail how this will be implemented using the concept of derived class. C++ supports yet another way of inheriting properties of one class into another class. This approach takes a view that an object can be a collection of many other objects. That is, an object can be a collection of many other objects. Therefore, a class can also contain objects of other classes as its members. So there is a concept that how we or how one class will take the objects of or objects of the another classes. That is a concept that says nesting of classes. That is, one class will be used within another class. That is a nesting of classes. That is, one class can contain the objects of other classes as its member. That is shown below. There is a class alpha, then the class beta. So there are two classes. There is a class a gamma that contains two variables. That is the objects of two variables. That is the a and the b. All objects of gamma class will contain the objects a and the b. This kind of relationship is known as the containership or the nesting. So whenever we use one class within the another class or create the object within the another class, that is known as the nesting or the containership. This is one of the example that is used. There is a class gamma. There are two objects that is used. One is the alpha a, one is the beta b. Then there is a public, then there is a gamma, then there is a argument list, then a argument list, b argument list. So these are the various lists that is available. So one is gamma, then a argument list, then b argument list. That is a constructor body. So ARG list, that is the argument list, is a list of argument that is to be supplied when a gamma object is defined. So when a gamma is defined, so how it will be applied, or how these are the way, there are very list of argument that is used to initialize the gamma objects. These parameters are used for initializing the members of the gamma. Argument list 1 is the argument list for the constructor A, and argument list 2 is the argument list for the constructor of B. Argument list 1 and list 2 may or may not use the argument from the argument list. That is, they are not related with each other, or they are related with each other. That is, there is no concern. Remember, A, that is argument list, and the B are the function calls, and therefore the argument do not contain the data type. They are the arguments, they do not contain the data types. They are simply the variables or the constants. For example, this is the example that is given, that is gamma, int x, int y, float z. There are three variables, that is the x, y and the z, and there is the ax and the b, x, y, z. That is the assignment section, that is how to assign the value. Then there is a next point says, when we use as many member objects as we required in a class, for each member object we add a constructor call in the initializer list. So therefore it is mandatory to initialize a value, it is mandatory to give the values, initialize the various constructor that is used in the classes. The constructors of the member function or member objects are called in the order in which they are declared in the nested class. There is a summary. So this is finish of the chapter. Finished the chapter. The last topic we have discussed is how to nest the classes. That is how to use the class within another class. Now there is a summary that is most important. The first point says the mechanism of deriving a new class from an old one is known as inheritance. So whenever we derive a new class from the base class or from the old class, that is known as the inheritance. That provides a concept of reusability that is used using inheritance. The next point says the derived class inherits some or all the properties of the base class. That is, a derived class can take either some properties or all of the properties of the base class. Then a derived class with only one base class is known as single inheritance. So in this, in which there is only single class, that is known as a single inheritance. A class can also inherit properties from more than one class, which is known as the multiple inheritance. So there are multiple inheritance when more than one base class and there is a single derived class. Then a class can be derived from another derived class, which is known as the multi-level inheritance. When the properties of one class are inherited by more than one class, then it is known as hierarchical inheritance. That is, there is one base class and there are multiple derived classes. The next point says a private member of a class cannot be inherited either in the public mode or in the private mode. That is, a public member or private member cannot be inherited in the public mode and or in the protected mode. It cannot inherit the properties because that is a private member. Only the provision is given to the public as well as the protected members. Then a protected member inherit in the public mode becomes protected, whereas inherit in the private mode become private in the derived class. Then a public member inherit in the public mode, private mode, and any mode that is used that is publicly defined. The friend function and the member function of a friend class can directly access the private and the protected data. So friend function can access the private data and the protected data, as well as any class that is derived from this class that contains the friend function that is also used for the private and the protected data. Then next point says the member functions of a derived class can directly access only the protected and the public data. However, they can access the private data through the member function of the base class. Then next point says multi-path inheritance may lead to duplication of inherited members from a grandparent base class. This may be avoided by making the common base class a virtual base class. That is, there are multiple similar member functions that is used, so it can be used or it can be inherit the properties from a grandparent. That can be avoided by making the common base class that is a virtual base class. In multiple inheritance, the base classes are constructed in the order in which they appear in the declaration of the derived class. In multi-level inheritance, the constructors are executed in the order of the inheritance. A class can contain objects of other classes. This is known as containership or the nesting. So whenever a class that contains multiple objects, multiple classes, that is known as, or this is known as the containership or the nesting of the classes. Then these are the various key terms that is used. One is the abstract class, one is the access control, then access mechanism, ancestor class, assignment section, base class, base constructors, child class, common child class. So these are the various classes where various key terms that is used. Now these are the various questions that is used. So what does the inheritance mean in C++? So what is the meaning of the inheritance? What is the meaning of the what is the usage of the inheritance in the C++? And what are the different forms of inheritance? Give an example of each. That is, what are the various categories of inheritance in which we are using the inheritance? Then what is the syntax of single inheritance? That is, how to use the single inheritance. These are the multiple questions that is used. This is the true-false question. The second point says inheritance aids data binding. That is, it also provides the data binding. No, it is not providing the data binding. But one member can access the properties from another member, so that is not true. Then defining a derived class requires some change in the base class. No, that's not okay. This is also false. And these are the various we can say the programmatical coding questions that is used. This is the finding out the errors. Then how to debug the program. Then these are the various exercises that is given, that is the programming exercises. This is the class relationship. Now this chapter will be finished, that is a or we can say the inheritance. Now chapter number 9, that is pointers, virtual functions and polymorphism. That is the next chapter that I am going to start in the next class. So this contains a pointer concept, that is what is a pointers in C++, what is the usage of virtual function, that is most important in C++, and what is the usage of polymorphism, that means more than one form. What is the usage or what is the meaning of polymorphism in the C++, that is object oriented programming. So let's finish this class over here only, and in the next class I will be taking the next chapter, that is the chapter number 9, that is pointers, virtual function and polymorphism. Right. Now I want to clarify from you that if there is any doubts, any suggestions, you can ask from me. And I don't know why today there is no student that is available, and I want to again tell you that this is a practical approach. So please attend the classes. If you are not attending the classes, then it's not in use, or it's not very ridiculous to, or it is very difficult to cope up with the subject, because this is a practical class. You have studied the C, you have also seen that C is also a tough topic module. This is also a tough module, because these are the various base classes or base programming languages. So please try to attend the classes, or if you are not attending the classes due to any number of reasons, first of all try. If that's not possible, then please go through the video lectures, that is the recorded lectures. So please study. So thanks a lot everyone for listening me in the that's all for today's session. In the next class I will be taking your next chapter, that is chapter number 9. So thanks a lot everyone. Bye bye.